Today's true crime case is an ongoing case. It's in Ireland, in Leitrim, which is an area my grandfather grew up in. It's a fairly recent case, 2020, dismissed by, well, the police, but in Ireland, I'm going to use the Irish phrase for police and policemen. So the police force in Ireland, they say Garda, and for a police officer, they say Guard, just so that you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, this is the case of Liam Farrell. Liam Farrell was a well-known and beloved farmer in his local community of Bruising. He was 87 years old, and he was a lifelong Fianna Fáil member, which is an Irish political party. He had several children, including a son called Brendan Farrell. And after walking home after a night out in the local pubs, this was on the 10th of January, Liam was to see friends, which he did quite regularly, had done all his life, go down to the local pub. While he was out, he was seen in the company of a stranger at a place called Reynolds, and after leaving there, he joined a lifelong friend at Weir Lodge, which is just next door to Reynolds, and he left there just before midnight. So 15 hours later, his son Brendan called round and couldn't raise his father, and found him deceased at Liam's home on January the 11th of 2020. He said he didn't recognise him due to the blood and bruising. His jacket was rolled up on one side and overcoat on the other. To use Brendan's words in an RT special about the case, he said coats on either side. He got the impression it was as if to comfort him. His tie was on the doorstep in a bow and covered in blood. The walls, door and door handle were also covered in blood. And by his knee was his broken watch, and his wallet was missing. His house keys with traces of blood were also found on the driveway. He was badly bruised, partially undressed and lying on his back. An unknown car was seen outside his house that night, and other people in the area claimed that he was dragged to where he was found. An ambulance man said there was a hat by Liam's shoes. People who saw Liam knew that he wasn't wearing a hat that night. The hat has since gone missing and doesn't appear on any evidence list. The family said that before emergency services arrived, they saw footprints on the front lawn, but a guard said that they were his footprints, but the family contests that. They say they were there before the Garda arrived. Liam's body was taken to Sligo for a post-mortem examination. A routine post-mortem took place at Sligo Hospital instead of a forensic one. It concluded that he died of a heart attack. After that, the family cleaned the house, removing all traces of blood, I assume because they just thought, oh well, if that's what they say, then that's the end of it. And also they were in grief, so they probably weren't thinking that clearly. There was also no public appeal for information. Within 24 hours of the police getting there and cordoned off, it was removed and no longer deemed suspicious, and I think that's as a direct result of the initial forensic report. After that, the pathologist told a subsequent inquiry that he wasn't informed that the body had been taken from a crime scene. He said if he knew it was suspicious, he would refuse to do the autopsy. He would have insisted a forensic pathologist did it instead. So since 2020, the family has actively campaigned for the case to be re-investigated. They believe he was a victim of an assault and robbery. Their efforts have involved meetings with the Garda Commissioner and the Minister for Justice, as well as being featured in a report on the RTE programme Primetime. Garda Cold Case Unit are currently looking into the suspicious death of Leitrim man Liam Farrell. A retired senior detective Alan Bailey, former cold case guard, said proper investigative protocols had not been followed. From all the information that I have seen in this case, Mr. Farrell's family are perfectly correct in demanding that a full and proper investigation be carried out, including having the remains exhumed or for a forensic examination. Under proper investigative protocols, a forensic post-mortem should have been carried out as a matter of course at the very start, because it is clear to see that this was a suspicious death. The failure to do so has left a lot of unanswered questions. The post-mortem pictures clearly show that the remains were severely bruised, and a proper forensic examination would have found evidence to assist an investigation. The fact that this was not done meant that evidence was actually buried. Mr. Bailey said Mr. Farrell's death was a classic case for investigation by his former colleagues in the Serious Crime Review Team, SCRT, which investigates unsolved crime. So to sum up, in January 2020, Liam Farrell, it looked like he was murdered from the outset, but for some reason, it wasn't investigated properly, whether they were just incompetent police or guards or Gardaí. And I can understand the trauma that the family have been through finding his body like that, and it should just be dismissed as a heart attack with no further investigations. When he had a lot of bruising, his face was all bloodied. His son Brendan said he couldn't recognise him when he saw him because his face was just covered with bloods and cuts, and looks like, to all intents and purposes, he was attacked, and the heart attack was a result of the attack. For some reason, God didn't want to pursue it, whether it's because he was an older man, whether they just didn't want publicity for the local community. Another thing that Brendan and his family have said is that initially the local community were quite helpful with the death of their father, but they've since sort of clammed up and don't want to help, which suggests that it's probably the person is known to some members of the local community. Oh, and yes, I've forgotten another bit that I didn't put in when I wrote it down. The person that they saw with Liam, he wore a hat, which might explain why a hat was found at the scene, and he wore a three-piece suit, which sort of stood out like a sore thumb because nobody in that area of Leitrim would walk around like that. So he was obviously a stranger. A local community, they notice when there are strangers in their midst. Liam was seen talking to him in the first pub, and I think people suspect he may have been the person responsible, especially with the hat being found. Anyway, I hope you found that case interesting. If you like my content, please like and subscribe. I've been Anne-Marie. Thank you. Bye-bye.